Hi everyone. So if you're watching this video, you should have already watched the video where I introduced base blocks. It doesn't look like this because I'm using an app rather than writing on this worksheet. So go back and watch that if you haven't already. It should have been in order on the playlist. So we're going to go through how to do this for how to add using this model of base blocks, not only for base 10, but for other bases. So we're gonna redo this example where we do 46 plus 28 to show how you'd write it on a paper like this whenever you're not using actual base blocks. Okay, so just like before, the first thing we're gonna do is draw the blocks that we have. So we have 46, so we have 4. Oh no, that should be black, my apologies. So we have 4 longs, right? Remember that the base B rectangle is called the long. So we have 4 longs, and we're going to have 6 units. Okay, we're going to add that to 2 longs and 8 units. We're going to add that to 2 longs and 8 units. So just like before, we are going to first add the units. So we're going to take these 6 up here and add the 4 down here. So we're going to take these and we're going to make another long. So we're going to take it, and this is going to give us, let me redraw that arrow. So this is going to give us another long. And we can't regroup the units anymore. So we know that we're going to have 4 units, and then we are going to count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 longs. So let me write that down explicitly. So we have 4 units and 7 longs. So that is 74. So we get 46 plus 28 equals 74. Okay, so our directions say to add the base blocks and then give the steps in a numbered list. So periodically throughout this course, we're going to give steps of how to do things, just so you can think through the process of, okay, what did I do? How would I tell students the steps of what to do? So the first thing that we did was draw the blocks for each number. Right, we drew the 4 longs and the 6 units and the 2 longs and the 8 units. So once we drew the blocks, we regrouped the blocks. So we regrouped our units because we had more than 10, so we could make those units into a long. So we regrouped the blocks if we could. And 3, well, after we regrouped it as much as we could, we just counted the resulting blocks. So once we regrouped it, we saw that we had 4 units and 7 longs. So we counted the resulting blocks and got our answer. Okay, so this is going to be the procedure that we do for every example, right? This procedure doesn't depend on the base. It just tells us how we're going to use base blocks to add, because we can have base blocks for any base. They're just not usually available. Okay, so now we're going to do this example for base 8. So we're having 1, 6 base 8. Tells us that we're going to have 1 long and 6 units. And then 3, 7, we're going to have 3 longs and 7 units. Okay, so let's regroup starting with the units. So I'm going to take these 6 units and take these 2 here to get 8. So these 8 units, because we're in base 8, they give us another long. So this is really important, this step where I tell you where I draw this arrow and we draw another long. So this is really important because it's the only way that I see you doing the regrouping. And just like whenever you have your students, you're going to need them to see, right? Hopefully you would be in a face-to-face classroom with your students when you're doing this so you can see what they're doing. But since you're just turning things into me and I'm not watching you do it, you need to draw this arrow so I know that you are regrouping. Okay, so now can we regroup anymore? So now we have 5 units and we can't regroup those, and we have 5 longs and we can't regroup those either, right? None of those are 5 is less than the base of 8, so we can't regroup those at all. So now we are left with 5 units and 5 longs. So we get that 16 base 8. Sorry, it's not 16. That's a habit that's really hard to break since we're so used to reading our numbers that way. 16 base 8 plus 37 base 8 is 55 base 8. Okay, our next example is in base 5. So first off, we have 2 longs here. And we have 3 units for this 2, 3, and then 2, 2 is 2 longs and 2 units. So again, we're going to group our units first. So we have 3 units up here and 2 units down here. Tells us that we are going to have 1 long over here with no units left over. So once we regroup those, we have 0 units left over. And now we have 5 longs. But because we are in base 5, we have that these, oops, that went a little far. We have that these 5 longs give us 1 flat. So your flat doesn't need to be horribly large, but it should be pretty clear that it's a square instead of a rectangle. So once we regroup those longs, we have no longs left, so we have 0 longs. And now we have 1 flat. So we have 1 flat, 0 longs, and 0 units. So that tells us that 2, 3 base 5 plus 2, 2 base 5 is 1, 0, 0 base 5. Okay, so this was our first example of getting a flat, but if you regroup longs, you just get a flat, right? You regroup units, you get a long. You just keep going up. Okay, so our last example of this is in base 16. So base 16, same as any other base. So we start off with our 1 long, and now we have C units. So remember that we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is A, 11 is B, and 13 is C. So that means that C represents 13. So this 1C has 13 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have 13 units there and 1 8. We have 1 long and we only have 8 units here. So trying not to do what I'm doing, and they kind of get less sharp edges. Make sure you keep your edges as sharp as you can. Okay, so we start with regrouping the units. So we had 13 units up here. And so this is base 16, so we only needed these 3 more to get to another long. So we get 1 more long here. Sorry, like I said, these are not sharp edges. There we go. We got another long. So now we have 5 units left, and we can't regroup those anymore. And we have 3 longs, and we can't regroup those anymore. So that's it. So we have the 1c base 16 plus 1/8 base 16 is 3/5 base 16. And that's it. I'm gonna go back and box these answers. Yeah, that's it. So this is how to use this model of base blocks. So the next video, we'll talk about, instead of using models, using algorithms. But for now, that's all for this video.